Hey guys, Mr. King here again. We're going to make a cool drawing today of, guess what, it might be Tuesday, it might not be, depends on when you're looking at this, but it's Taco Tuesday for us right now. We're going to make an awesome drawing of a taco, add some really cool details, and the big thing we are going to cover today is layering. So what we are going to do is we're going to make our awesome drawing. This is just an example of one of the illustrations. I can show you a quick replay of that drawing. But what's going to happen is I'll teach you guys step by step how to do this, and we're going to think about some of the stuff happening in layers. So I'll show you piece by piece, and either you can erase and then put pieces over the top, or you can draw kind of the way that I do in steps, anticipating those layers. So let's get rid of that old drawing and let's start with a brand new one right here. So we are going to talk about, remember, layers. So as we layer our taco, obviously first thing you need for a taco, please, you should be able to tell it to me right through the screen. Yes, you are absolutely right. It is a shell. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a very tall U. And at the top of it, instead of it being like a straight line on the side like that, we're going to kind of curve the U back a little bit. And by the way, I didn't mention it before, but this is the time you should pause your video, grab some colored pencils, grab a piece of paper, and grab markers, crayons, whatever you want to color with. You can really use anything for this, but I do really appreciate the pencil and eraser, and to make sure that you've got something to finalize it in, like a black marker, to make those outlines really pop out for you guys. Okay, so going back to that U, we're going to do that really long U, a little bit of a curve at the top, and it's going to come back up the other side. And this time it's not going to curve out on the other side. It's going to stop a little short. Whoops. Oh no. Mine tried to correct into like a more perfect U. So that was the computer trying to straighten that out. So this is going to actually be the opening of our taco at the top. So it's hard to kind of tell what that's going to be yet, but I'll kind of finish out the rest of the shell and you guys can see it. I'm going to do the top of the taco shell here. We're going to do the back of it. Then we're going to have it kind of come out and down underneath. And instead of connecting it to the bottom of the U, we're actually going to go just underneath, and we're going to give the taco shell a little bit of thickness here, coming up the other side. And now we're going to bring this side of the U in, and it's going to go a little bit beyond or behind where we made our others, and this is where the layering is going to come into effect. We are actually going to make the illusion of 3 dimensions by having one thing go behind another. So without shading, it's kind of hard to tell, but this part right here is the inside of your taco. This obviously is the thickness of the shell, and this is the shell as a whole. So, whoops, too far. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to put my fillings in. Now, the one problem I have is if I do, like, let's say I do like my little bumps here for my meat filling. If I do that, I don't like how it feels like it's perfectly lined up with the edge of the shell. When you put your meat in your taco, I don't know if you're like me, but you like pile your stuff up, and sometimes some of it kind of spills out a little bit. So we want to make that look a little bit more 3D. So here is where drawing lightly and using an eraser is going to come in handy if you've got that pencil on hand. If not, you can actually do what I would do otherwise, which is draw this, anticipating this gap right here. And I'll tell you what that is in just a minute and explain it to you. I'll draw kind of a second spot. But let's bust out that eraser, and I'll show you what I mean. If you want to, please erase just the bottom part of that U right down there, the inside U and the inside of your taco. And when you do your bumps for your taco meat, you line them up so they basically go over to the edge of that U, and then you can have that meat kind of spilling out of your taco just a little bit. Not enough that the meat would fall out, but enough that it's like, wow, you really put a lot of filling in there. The next layer real quick, I'm going to add my cheese. So again, I'm going to bust out my eraser. I'm going to go back in. I'm going to erase a little bit more of the line. And anticipating the other stuff that I'm going to do, I'm actually going to erase a ways up here. And maybe even a little bit of the outer shell. And I'll show you why in just a second for that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make these kind of like what looks almost like a pile of French fries. And that is going to be my cheese. Okay, so there's my cheese. And then the layer above that, and you can see that went outside where the inner U line would have been. Now the next one is going to be my lettuce. I'm going to skip the salsa just because, if you want to, let's do that. Let's make a little layer of salsa right here. Just kind of a slightly bumpy line over the top. And then let's do the lettuce. Now the lettuce is going to be much more kind of large ruffles because that's a piece. And you see I got that one piece that sticks way out? Well, that's why I erased that piece, because now when I add the lines that kind of make the veins of my lettuce, I can even do a little piece kind of in between right here to make that look a little bit more like whole pieces. Now it looks like it's actually coming out. Now the one thing I'm going to show you is, I'll zoom in here so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to redraw the thickness of my taco right here. So I'm going to try to kind of do it about the same as I did up above. And I'm just going to connect the thickness of the taco behind the stuff that I've done. And this is the layering I'm talking about. You're going to create the illusion of 3 dimensions by having one thing in front of another. And that really is a cool thing to do in art. The other thing I want to do is I want to create the thickness on the other side of my U. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another line right here. It's going to show kind of the thickness. And I'm not going to have it connect all the way down. Just like when I go along the top part, I'm not going to have that line connect all the way. It's going to kind of start and stop. And that creates what is called an implied line. We know that that line is still continuing just because our brain tells us so, but you don't have to have it there all the time. And that's because when we see things in real life, light and shadow make lines kind of start and stop depending on where the shadow is really dark and where the light is shining. And that really is kind of a cool way to show that in a cartoon form. So now we're really just missing the color. And then one other thing I'll point out, to create more layers, if you're looking at the back side of the taco, instead of those layers being in front of the taco shell, they'll be behind it. So if I have a little bit of lettuce sticking out on the back edge over here, it's just going to stick out right there. And if I've got a little bit of cheese right below that sticking out, it's going to be right there. Now let's just do a couple bumps of the meat sticking out because, hey, my taco's overfilled to be delicious. The other thing I would tell you to do is add a couple of those kind of cloud bumps onto your meat down here just to give it kind of that continuous texture, and maybe add a few lines into your cheese to make it look like there are actual pieces of cheese in there. And if you wanted to add kind of the more of the actual veins into your I'm adding kind of the bumps on the salsa right here to make it look like the individual pieces a little bit, but again, it's just cartooning. And then if I wanted to add some more veins onto my lettuce, I could. It's totally up to you what you think is enough. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Last little detail I'd probably add is those specks of those dark bits of like blue corn, or even just like a little bit kind of the burnt corn ends that go onto most tacos, give that kind of bumpy, rough texture on the shell there, that it looks like it's actually made out of little pieces of corn. So I'm going to add those all around. Okay, got my taco. It looks pretty darn good. So the next thing, and here's the thing, I'm going to tell you, just draw it this way. Use your eraser. It's just easier. Draw lightly in pencil, erase those areas, and then go back in. If you get really good with it, if you watch that replay of what I did the first time, and I'll actually show you that real quick. When I drew my first version of my taco here, I did it where I actually drew it. And it's kind of hard to tell in the replay, but I drew it so that I actually knew where I was going to put stuff overlapping. So I stopped the drawing of the shell in certain spots. But you do not need to do that. Honestly, use your eraser. It is just plain easier. Okay, so here's my next part. I'm going to start adding some color to this. So for you guys, this is where you're actually going to spend your time using your colored pencils, blending, making it look the way that you want to, filling it in with markers, really doing it the right way. Now for me, I got a computer, so I'm just filling it up. So I'm using that kind of drop fill, and I know you guys have seen me do that before, but it's my way of kind of cheating and going a little faster. But you should be thankful because it means my videos don't take forever. So I did a slightly darker color, as you can see, on the inside of the shell, and that is to create a shadow. Okay, again, we're creating layers. So that would be the inside. It would be harder for the light to get in there, and therefore that part of the shell I'm going to do in a darker color. You can get that effect by going with your pencil over some of your marker, or you can get that effect by using a slightly different color if you've got a really big color set with like a light yellow and like a slightly darker yellow. Or you've got colored pencils, which I love, you can blend a darker color over the top. All right, but the rest of the stuff, we don't really need to create that shadow effect. Let's add some green for our lettuce. I like this bright green. It's really looking nice. We'll use a bright yellow. Let's go really bright, shocking for this in comparison to my, for our cheese. I skipped over the salsa, by the way. It'll be okay. I promise I'll come back to it. And my abilities to drag and drop are not 100% right now, so I had to zoom in to get that one. We're going to get a salsa color here. Ooh, I don't know about that one. That doesn't seem right. It's like pink. I want more red. Oh, man, I'm just missing. I can't hit my targets. I'm going to have to drag and drop a few times here because they're all little separate shapes. And boom. You can see I didn't fill every single spot perfectly, but that is okay because I'm all right with some small mistakes, and if I really was hung up on it, I could spend more time. But you guys don't want me to spend more time, because that would just be more time, Mr. King, doing boring things you can't do. Ha! Alright, so I drag drop over there. Now you notice these white spots in the background on my shell, so what I'm going to actually do is you'd want to use the same color used for the shadow of your shell. I was able to just pick that up from the background of my thing. Come on. There it goes. And taco. So we have our taco done real quick. I'm going to erase my layers sign right here. And honestly, guys, really cool thing you can do after you are done. I honestly think if you've got on white paper, you could cut it out, which is really cool. You could even cut it in like a little border around, so you just kind of cut like along this line here and make it almost into like a little sticker to put on things, but just adding a little tape to the back of it. Or if you happen to have just the time that you want to do it, I would actually say, you know, on this, I would just make sure that my paper is sized kind of like that, so my drawing is nice and big on it. And then I would draw a color for the background. If you're using marker, use colored pencil for the background. If you're using colored pencil for your drawing, maybe use marker for your background. But I'm just going to drag and drop, because obviously that's an easy way. I'm going to use this really vibrant blue. Colors for your backgrounds, if it's a fun drawing, if it's meant to be something fun, make the background a bright, punchy color. Get people's attention. So, boom, there's my taco. So I'm really calling it out right now. And if you wanted to talk about, you guys remember the gem lesson, if you watched that video, talks about making anything into a character, and just to prove to you that that is entirely possible, I'm going to use my eraser tool. I'm going to make a couple ovals real quick and make my taco into a character. So I'm just going to add a couple ovals here for the eyes, because remember, cartoon eyes, all you really need is ovals. You can bring them pretty close together, even overlapping a little bit. Let's go back down here and get my dark color around. I'm going to use my computer's ability to smooth out my ovals there, so sorry if that's cheating a little bit for you guys. But remember, there's no cheating in art. So there are my eyes real quick. I'm going to make him look a little bit kind of like bored and annoyed, because I don't know why, but my taco feels bored and annoyed. It's been a long day. It's been a long lockdown. Mr. Taco wants out. Wants back in the art classroom. And then we can just give him like a kind of a pouty lip here. Watch this. So if we do like a little bump right here in this lip, and then we just add a little like So there's this little kind of like pouty, you know, like I'm not happy with everything right now. Whoops. Whoopsies. Had a little black there that I did in the background accidentally. And then let's do this. Let's give him some like, you know, really basic stick figure legs. Again, I'm using the straighten tool, so I apologize if that feels like cheating to you guys, but a ruler will do the exact same thing. Let's do some kind of straight feet here, and then we'll add kind of an arch to the top of them to give them like a little something. And we could fill those in black too. There we go. That's pretty cool. You know, if you want to make them look even more annoyed, just bring those arms straight down on the side, because he's just had enough. There's just too much going on right now. So yeah, that's really it, guys. It's that simple. It's that easy. I'm going to add a couple details to my guy real quick. Just make him look a little bit more interesting. So there he is, just chilling. And yeah, I mean, I would spend some more time on this to really make it look right, but you can make anything into a character. It's really easy to do. So that's your way you can make your taco dude. And I can really change his facial expressions like crazy. I can do lots of funny things with him. You know, even by keeping his mouth the exact same ways. Remember, the emotion is carried in the eyes the most. So if you want to make him look like really surprised by something, whoops. You could do that kind of thing. The really funny thing about that too is if you, again, SpongeBob is a great cartoon to pull from. If you fill those in black, get rid of those little dots in the middle. And then you just fill that with a little bit of like white shine, some reflection. And you could get that, you know what's the best way to do white shine in the eyes? It's just white out. If you could find some white out around your house, oh my gosh, that is so nice, because it's like little pure white drops of acrylic paint that will really make things look beautiful. So if you want to add some shine to your character that way. So this, oh wow, my white is not very white there. I have to use the eraser tool to get it better. You know, let's do that.